I put on the doc craziest youth ministry story. I'm just curious if you have any that are just like any wild camp experience or what's the
I have a lot, man.
Anything gone horribly awry for?
Yeah. Well, and without even telling stories, I can just do, or maybe I'll tell one. But like I had a girl give to me a vial of cocaine once at Shepherd. And that was really cool because because she confessed to me that she began taking cocaine during finals. Like a really smart, pretty girl at school suggested it to her because she was having trouble concentrating, staying awake, and hey, take cocaine. And she started doing that. And so I had this, I'll blame it on the Holy Spirit. I had this like sense to say, not do you have any on you? I said, hey, why don't you give to me whatever you got on me, and I'll get rid of it for you. That was and she goes, like big eyes.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, because I wasn't going to give it to you.
Wow.
And she goes, okay. So she gave it to me. Now I hadn't thought through what I was going to do. I was like, let's give it. And I'm like, what do I do? Do I call, and I ended up just like I went into the dumpster at Shepherd Church, got into the dumpster. Garrison, who was a youth pastor, was like, he like kind of stood watch. And I put it at the very, I got my hands nasty into a big, huge bag, put it at the very bottom. I have no idea if that's what, so if there's a policeman or whatever saying, no, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to, I remember Garrison going, like in the movies, they flush it down the toilet.
Right.
And I'm like, but will that ruin the toilet? Like, I don't know. And so.
Any cops listening in, write in, let us know what you're supposed to do with cocaine.
Yeah, what do you do with cocaine? I'll give one more story.
Okay.
Because this was early on in ministry, and it's very, very awkward. We had these ninth graders. We had this ninth grade event, and I'd only been there for like a year. Months. I'd been there months because I wasn't married yet. We were engaged, and Amy was working over in Joplin, it's about 20 miles away. And there was this new girl that came that got invited by one of her friends, ninth grade. And so I'm 22. I was 21, hadn't turned 22 yet. And I'm standing in the doorway, and I looked way younger even than 20. I could have passed for 18, whatever, 17, whatever. And so I'm giving her some benefit of the doubt. And she came from a broken home, all this stuff, and they're all leaving. I'm high-fiving the kids as they're leaving. They're actually going to go down. The intern, Erin, is making popcorn. And so she's the last one out. And she gives me high fives, but slides her hand down and like just slid her hand down my chest, my stomach, and further. But
wow.
Yeah. But it all happened so fast, and I didn't know what to do, and she just kept walking. So I shut the door, like behind her. So she's gone out of the room. I shut the door. Erin, there's only like 15, 20 kids. And there may have been another, a volunteer there with us too. But we had these phones in different children's classrooms, which is where the area we were in the education building. And I went and I called the senior pastor. He lived right next door, and I told him. And he goes, oh, yeah, I know her mom. They're a mess. He said, hey, I'll come over. Yeah. And he came over. The senior pastor stayed for the rest of the event. But I also called Amy at her work, and I said, here's what happened. I don't know what to do. And I remember this feeling of guilt.
Yeah.
It was false guilt, but I didn't, I had this, I showed her attention, because she was a new kid.
Yeah.
And all these other kids were church kids. I didn't, and I'm like, and I remember talking with Amy and then David, that senior pastor who helped raise me, in ministry. But I remember, and David saying, Dust, first of all, it's not your fault. But one thing you need to keep in mind is, especially when you're talking about 14, 15, 16, 17-year-old girls, you're not that far, and you look really young. Mm-hmm. Especially when I had no facial hair, I just looked like a kid. And so you got to be careful in a way. And, and this is 1998, so even a different world, even more so than it is now. But, I wanted to leave. I wanted to leave and go home. Yeah. And this is so, and she thinks of me like that. Oh, it's so gross. I'm not, And so anyway, there's a crazy story.
Those are two very crazy stories. Thanks for sharing those.